Let me start with a slightly uncomfortable truth. There's a real chance that you're going to end up aging alone. Not because of anything that you've done wrong, but because life doesn't unfold the way we always imagine it will. When it comes to your finances, this is really important to consider, because if you're relying on yourself, you want to make sure that you hire someone you can trust as your financial advisor. Today I'm going to go through some questions that you should ask when you're hiring a financial advisor, but also make sure you stay to the end, because I'm going to go over some red flags that should have you skirting out the door if you hear someone say it to you. Hi everyone, welcome back to Education Cafe Canada. My name is Shari, and if you've been around for a while, you know that I am a retired teacher and guidance counselor. But you likely don't know that I was a banker before I ever went into teaching. If you're wondering how that could be, you might want to look at those ADHD videos or career videos that I've posted. And on this channel, I share practical life advice to help you navigate learning, careers, and retirement with a little bit more confidence and hopefully a lot less stress. This video is going to be the first in a series, well, short series, on financial planning for solo agers. Today, we're going to start with the right foundation. How do you choose a financial advisor you can actually trust? It doesn't matter who your financial advisor is. Well, before you choose one, no, you do not need an MBA, and you don't need a background in banking. But you do need to know one thing. Not all financial advisors are the same. In fact, not all of them are working in your best interest. Some are planners, some are advisors, and some are salespeople who are somewhat disguised as financial planners. So let's make sure that you know how to tell the difference so that you can protect your money. So I have 8 questions that you're going to want to ask people you are interviewing for this role. And I really recommend that you interview at least 3 people so that you can get a really good feeling for who it is you want to work with. And also, again, be sure to stay to the end so that you can get the red flags. So the first question that I think you should ask, and ask it directly, will you act as a fiduciary for me at all times, and will you put that in writing? Now, a fiduciary is actually legally required to put your interests first, and that's why you want this in writing. If they hesitate, they're a little vague, they say sometime, that's one of your cues that you want to start looking for somebody else. Now, a second important question to ask is, and this is a big one, it's actually got a few parts to it. Okay, the first part is, do I pay you directly? Because you want to know if you're going to be paying this person, you know, with regard to what they're doing and what you're paying for. The second part is, do you earn commissions? And I think this is really important, because if they're earning commissions, it's usually because they're selling or trading stocks around or financial vehicles around, and that may not be putting your interest first, because if they don't move your things around, then they're not making money, right? Okay. The third part, are there product incentives? And you want to know that, because I remember when I worked in banking, you know, one month we wanted to raise the number of high interest accounts we had. So suddenly we're transferring everybody over to high interest ones. And then the next month it might be savings accounts. So we're moving people back to savings accounts. It wasn't really in the interests of the clients, but it's what we were pushed to do. I will not name the bank I worked for. Okay, and then the fourth thing you want to ask is, do you get referral fees? And that could be if they refer you to a certain stock and so on. So the third question that I would suggest you ask is, are they making recommendations for you, or are these recommendations for their firm? Okay, because you want to know, are they recommending what's best for you? Which, in all honesty, when you're in retirement mode, is probably more blue chip than fast earning or, you know, gold or something like that. So you want to know what they're offering is best for you, and not just something that their company happens to sell. Now, this fourth question is a little bit of a trick question, something that probably surprises you. because you want to find out who they typically work with. You want to know if they're working with clients like yourself. But the way that I like to word it is to ask them, how many women over 60 do you work with? And I think men should ask this question as well. I mean, you can change it to men if you want, but I think by leaving it as women, it's very telling, because that is going to give you an insight as to whether there is a sexist attitude with your financial advisor or potential financial advisor. And the reason I think it's important to know that, whether you're male or female, is because most likely if the person looks down on women, they probably also look down on retirees. And they may mask that a little bit more. So you may also ask, do you have experience working with widows, divorced clients, or people who are managing their finances independently? Those are questions that you can ask, because what you're really listening for is the respect that they have for their clients. Because you're not just hiring expertise in your financial advisor, you're hiring someone who's going to walk through some very personal decisions with you. And I think you want to know what kind of person you're dealing with. So of course, question 5 is when you're getting more into a bit of nuts and bolts, what credentials do you have? And what you're listening for is that they're either a certified financial planner or CFP, or they're a chartered professional accountant, a CPA. The CFP is usually considered the gold standard, but also credentials aren't everything, but they do matter. You want to know that this person is actually trained in the field that they're working in. So for question 6, you want to look at what services that they can provide. Do you offer full planning or just investments? Because investing is really just one piece of the puzzle. You will also likely need some help with your retirement income planning, when you're going to be transferring money back and forth from different registered accounts, with your taxes perhaps. And if they are not an accountant, they may work with somebody who's a very good accountant who they can refer you to. You're going to want to look at estate planning down the road, and I know nobody wants to talk about that, but you want to look at how to protect those you love who will be inheriting from you. Long-term care, they may be able to advise you on some of that. When you should take your CPP and old age security timing. And then of course your TFSA, so your tax-free savings accounts, and RRSP strategies. And again, that was when you're going to be transferring money. Because this is what's key. You want your money to last your lifetime, but you also want to be able to enjoy your lifetime while you're living it. Now, the 7th question that I would ask is, how will we be working together? And you want to break this down, like how often will you be meeting with them? If you are new to financial planning on your own, you will probably want to meet with them more often and go through everything that they're recommending, and certainly ask questions. You want to know how you contact them. You also want to know if you're going to be dealing with them directly or if they have a team. Now, in my own case, when I first started working with my financial advisor, I was meeting with him regularly. I made him break down everything that he was doing, and of course I asked these questions. But of course I've been with him now for like 10 years, and I work very often with one of his assistants because I'm not doing big movements of money. As I said, I'm staying mainly in blue chip, so I don't need to start looking at all these different stocks and bonds and everything else. I do rebalance, but I'm not going to go into that here. But I also know that if I ever want to reach him, I can make an appointment. And that really is important for me to know, and I'm thinking it'll be important for you. The 8th question is actually one of my favorites, and it's, what if I disagree with you? So let's say your financial advisor has said you should move money into X, and you don't want to move money into X for whatever reason. A good advisor will say, we'll talk it through, and we'll find an approach you're comfortable with, or words to that effect. Bad answers, trust me, I'm the financial advisor. No, this is your money, you're in charge, they work for you. Okay, so now I'm going to give you the red flags that I promised at the beginning, but I'm also then going to tell you some things that you should consider when you're choosing which of the 3 or more you have interviewed. If you're hearing things like, this opportunity won't last, not good. Everyone's investing in this. Yeah, doesn't that just scream Ponzi scheme? Okay, and guaranteed returns. All right, those are things that you're going to want to know about. I mean, there are some investment tools that will guarantee the amount that you put into them, but they will not guarantee that you're going to get X amount of interest because markets change. Run for the door if you start to experience them. Pressure to sign quickly. You should never have to sign anything quickly. You should always have a time to process, and we all process at different speeds, and our speeds change as we get older. So you want to know that you can actually go home, take whatever information they have given you, read it over, or they'll send it to you in an email, you can read it over and whatever. If they start using a lot of jargon that you don't know and they haven't explained, I mean, you can stop them and ask them to explain the jargon, but if you're not satisfied with that, that's not somebody, you want somebody you can talk to. If the person was talking more than they were listening, so they start telling you about all these great investments that you can go into, but they haven't listened to where you are in your life, because we are in different places. Okay, and definitely leave if somebody makes you feel foolish for asking questions, because from my experience, if somebody's making you feel foolish, they don't know the answer. But I want you to feel informed, but I don't want you to feel intimidated. And that should be what you're looking for in your financial advisor. Ask yourself after you have left the meeting. First off, think about the meetings you've had. Did they spend more time talking about me or talking about investments? Because they should be focusing on you and learning what your needs are more than they should say investment A, investment B, investment C. This is a rapport you are developing. Okay, so a good advisor will want to get to know you first. And if they jump straight into products, you kind of know that it's time to go. I hope this has been informative. Before I do some closing questions that you're probably going to want to consider, so do stay for a few more minutes. If you found it helpful, please subscribe. It really helps the channel. Share it with friends or enemies for that matter. But here's what you want as your takeaways. All right, first of all, interview at least 3 people. Advisors. And if you don't like any of them, interview more. You're hiring somebody. They work for you. Ask the same questions of each person you interview. And afterwards, ask yourself these 4 questions. Who listened to me? Who explained things clearly? Who respected my questions? And who made me feel comfortable? And make sure it's somebody you're happy to work with. Because the right advisor is going to leave you feeling calm, feeling informed, and most of all, feeling like you're in control. A good advisor earns your trust. They're patient, they're clear, and they're transparent. And you deserve nothing less than that. And if it's helpful, I'll be continuing this series on financial planning for solo agers, and we'll talk soon.